Did you know that the average kitchen remodel is around $25,000? But here in California, it's more like minimum $40,000. Sounds crazy, right? That's why this past year, I decided to challenge myself and see if I could completely transform my dated kitchen for under $2,000. Here's the before photo, and this is the after. And this video is going to answer that question. Was I able to do this for under $2,000? I'm gonna show you every project that we did along the way and how much each project costs. Plus, I'm gonna share with you one of the DIY projects that almost ruined my entire kitchen and was a complete nightmare project. So make sure you don't miss that. But let's get started right now with one of the biggest projects that really made the biggest change in the kitchen, and that is around the cabinets. So these cabinets that came with my home, these are actually original to the home in terms of the boxes. So they are 1970s cabinets. However, the previous owners did reface the cabinet, which just means that they put on new doors. And they did that probably 10 or 20 years ago. And these were originally a very orangey, reddish wood color that was definitely a little bit more on the dated side. And the other thing that really dated these kitchens was the little arch that they had up here at the top, and that really tells the age of your kitchen as well. So I decided to paint the cabinets, and I did choose this warm gray color, and I used a special paint called Heirloom Traditions paint. This is my second time painting kitchen cabinets. The first time I did it was the first house that we bought, and I did the whole 9 yards. I took the doors off, I took all the hardware off, I basically cleaned them, deglossed them, sanded them, did primer, then did paint, then a top coat. It took me a month to do this. It was awful. So this time around, I decided to go the lazy way, and I decided to use this Heirloom Traditions paint. I actually have a video about this project, and I'll link to it here, but this paint is great because a couple of reasons. One is I was able to leave the doors on the cabinets and just paint with the doors on. Like, how easy is that? And then the other thing was that you don't have to do any sanding or priming. You just do a degloss, and then I put 2 coats of paint on, and that was it. You can use a top coat if you want, it's optional. I think now that I've lived with these a little bit, I would do the top coat if I had to do this again, because it's going to add a little bit more durability, and you are gonna wanna scrub them. All in, this project cost me around $250 just for the paint itself, as well as the brushes and things like that. So it is a little bit more expensive paint, but it's certainly cheaper than buying new cabinets, which can be like $20,000. And this hack, this money-saving hack, is actually one of the hacks that I have in my latest ebook, which is in my Penny Modern Shop, which is 100 money-saving hacks to help you save thousands on your kitchen remodel. So check that out, but we'll go over some more of the hacks later in the video. So now I only spent $250 for the paint, but then the hardware was gonna stick out like a sore thumb. So next up, we had to replace the hardware. So the hardware that we had previously was very dated looking. It was a brushed nickel and it was ornate. So I decided to pick a brass hardware that was a little bit more of a traditional design. It had a little bit of a square edge, a little bit of rounded square corners, and I thought that it was really pretty, and it did go with the cabinet doors. And what's great about updating your hardware, it can be super easy. So we picked the same size handles that the holes that were already there were, so we didn't even have to drill new holes. That's something you literally can do with just a screwdriver. Pretty much anybody could do it if you pick the same size hardware. And what I love is you can actually get a lot of really cool hardware from Amazon, which is where we got this. And so for all the hardware that we bought, it was around $85 for all the hardware, all the knobs and the handles. So now that we took care of the cabinets and the handles and the pulls, we did this next update that was gonna make the kitchen look way bigger. This next project was a huge transformation that really helped bring my kitchen into the next century, and that was around removing some of the upper cabinets. Previously, we had cabinetry that were upper cabinets along this entire wall, and we had an over-the-range microwave. The problem with that cabinetry was that because those upper cabinets had that arch on it, it really dated the kitchen. So I thought to myself, okay, if I remove those cabinets, then I won't have the dated doors anymore. Or I could try to somehow update those doors. Maybe I could fill them in and add wood over it. And that just seemed way too complicated to me. It seemed much easier just to remove them and add some open shelving, which is gonna help update the space. I would be selective in terms of removing your upper cabinet. For example, we did leave the cabinet above the fridge, and we did leave our pantry cabinet because we needed our pantry cabinet to put all our food. So we decided to remove these, and I thought I still will have storage. I still can put all my plates, all my bowls, and this was cooking supplies for my husband. So this was a more expensive part of my kitchen makeover. These shelves actually cost around $350 in total. It's a butcher block shelf that I got from Home Depot. I got these brackets from Lowe's. I actually spray painted these brass because I could only find black ones, but I spray painted these brass myself, and I actually stained this shelf to get it the beautiful color that I wanted, and then I put a top coat on it as well. So this was a pretty easy DIY project. I had never stained wood before, and I thought it was super easy. And open shelving can definitely be a less expensive alternative to getting cabinetry. So that is another one of those hacks that's in that ebook, and I'll again link to that down below, the 100 money-saving hacks to save thousands on your kitchen remodel. Now that I had these beautiful open shelves that I put up, I did have a new problem, and that was a blank wall behind them. So I thought it would be a great way to add some texture by adding a backsplash behind the shelves. For this backsplash, I went through a lot of different options and choices. I thought about doing a peel and stick backsplash, and I actually bought some and I almost put it in, but then I figured putting a plastic peel and stick backsplash behind a cooktop is probably a bad idea, so I decided not to do it. And we ended up deciding to get a real tile. So this is just a ceramic tile, very simple rectangular tile that it's a mosaic. So it comes in a 1 foot by 1 foot square. And the reason why I bought this is because we were doing this ourselves and we wanted something that was pretty forgiving and easy to install. And that's why we decided to buy this. And we also wanted something that would create some visual lines. So that's why we laid it this way. And we had these lines created up the wall to help make the kitchen appear taller. When you have these vertical lines, it draws the eye upward and it's gonna help make your space feel taller. We also chose the white again to make the space feel bigger. Our kitchen isn't huge, but with the dark gray cabinetry, we definitely wanted to make it feel more airy and open, and that's why we chose just a plain, simple white. So all in, this backsplash project cost us $298, and that was for all the materials as well as the grout and the spacers. We actually, because we chose this small tile, we didn't have to rent a tile saw, we didn't have to buy a big tile saw. I think we just used a little tile snip. So that's another advantage of getting this kind of a mosaic. Another big change that we made that I feel made a huge impact in terms of updating your kitchen, and this can be a good one for you as well, is really around removing that over-the-range microwave. Having an over-the-range microwave is a kind of a polarizing thing in the kitchen design world. Most kitchen designers will tell you you should definitely not have an over-the-range microwave. A lot of owners of small kitchens will say, where else am I gonna put my microwave? There is a big debate. I'd love to know what you think down in the comments below. Over-the-range microwave, yes or no? But we decided to get rid of it, and at least get rid of it over our range, and we put in a proper hood vent. The other reason was because the fan on that over-the-range microwave, it does not work very well. And my husband loves to cook and cooks a lot. I'm very lucky. And we wanted something that could control the smoke. He also makes like a lot of salsas. He makes a lot of meat stuff and chili and all kinds of things. So we wanted something with a really good fan. I'm gonna put it on. It's really quiet and it actually works really good. So this hood vent from Visani was only $279. And what I really love about this is instead of your eye being drawn to a microwave over your range, your eye is not drawn to that anymore. It does make the kitchen feel more spacious, and it's obviously very much more functional because the fan actually works. I love the little light underneath it. And we relocated our microwave to a cabinet in another area of our kitchen. After the main part of my kitchen started really looking updated, I did want to install a new dedicated space dedicated to coffee over here. To create my coffee bar station, we already had this cabinet, which was just like this island cabinet stuck on the wall here. There was no shelves or anything above it. And so I added a couple of shelves and the sconces. So the shelves were expensive. They did cost $376, but I did pay for expedited shipping because I was in a rush. So they could have been cheaper had I not done that. And then the sconces were around $52. And what I love about these sconces is they're actually battery operated and rechargeable. So you can just click them on with your remote, and there was no need to do any wiring. We were able to do this completely by ourselves because you just mount them to the wall and there's no wiring or electrician needed. I'll make sure I link to those down below. I got them from Amazon. And then to complete my coffee station, I had to have my Ninja coffee maker, which this makes Nespresso pods, and then it also just makes regular coffee. And we had to have all our coffee stuff, and we have our coffee grinder. And then I got my mugs and just some drinking glasses up here because we're right next to the fridge. So that was how I organized my coffee bar station. And then I have a little drawer under here that holds all my pods and my other coffee stuff. If you've watched any of my other videos, you do know that is a huge trend that's going on in kitchens, is having these dedicated zones, whether it's for your coffee station or maybe it's your wine and beverage station, or maybe it's a smoothie bar station. And I will say another trend that we're definitely seeing in kitchen is this idea of layered lighting. And that's why I got these sconces. So I had something else besides just having these can lights. I also have these sconces. I also have a little lamp, and you want to have these different types of lighting to make your kitchen feel more high-end and custom. This was such a fun and easy little project, not like that other nightmare project that I told you about, and that's coming up soon, so make sure you stick around for that. So you might be wondering where I put my microwave, and I did decide to buy a dedicated kind of freestanding pantry cabinet to add some more storage to my kitchen, and I decided to put my microwave here. I did have it over here next to my coffee bar station for a while, so I would say that's totally fine too. Maybe you just want it on your countertop. Maybe you want to get a dedicated cabinet. In my previous home, I put the microwave actually in a pantry cabinet that had electrical inside. So there's a lot of places that you can hide your microwave. The point is you don't really want it to be a focal point, so I would keep it away from on top of your range. So this small countertop microwave was only $158, which I think is a steal. You can get really little ones. I've gotten ones for $100 before that were just a very small one that fit inside my pantry cabinet. So that is an option too, as a way to relocate your over-the-range microwave somewhere else. The next thing we did was around styling. So when you do have open shelves, you do need to make sure that the things on your shelves are pretty, right? And so one recommendation I have is to shop sales, look at places like Target and Walmart. A lot of this stuff I actually got from Target. So all these things, the jars, even this little salt shaker, salt holder thing, these are all from Target. And then things like this cutting board and the pepper shaker, these are from IKEA. And so you don't have to spend a lot of money to make your kitchen look really nice with the decor. The other thing I did was I shopped for my own home, and I grabbed some of the artificial plants like this that I had just from places like Ross or Home Goods, and used these, and I pulled them from other places in my home. All right, I know I have been teasing this, and I did want to get there, and this is the one DIY project that was a complete nightmare, and I definitely don't recommend for beginners. So this project started out with a lot of good intentions, and this was a project that I needed to do because I had very dated brown granite countertops in this kitchen. And it was a brown color with a lot of beige with a yellow undertones and some gray in it. I selected the gray color for my cabinets based on a piece of my countertop that was over here that actually had a lot of gray in it. The issue is that the rest of my countertops had way more beige and brown in it. And so the gray and the granite just did not look good together. I decided if I'm gonna make this kitchen look decent, I'm gonna have to do something about these countertops. Unfortunately, because the cabinets underneath are original to the 1970s, I did not think that the cabinets could actually hold up to removing the countertops and putting new ones on, because these cabinets are literally falling apart underneath. Like, you can't see it, but it's there. And so I just didn't think they would withstand getting new countertops. So I thought to myself, either I'm just going to live with the granite, which I could do, or I can try to do something about these countertops. So I decided to try painting the countertops, and I had seen some videos on this, not a lot, quite honestly, and there's a lot of different types of countertop paint that you can do. You can do epoxy, which I think would probably be a little bit more durable. I chose that Heirloom Traditions paint because I'd used it on my cabinets and it worked really well for the cabinetry, and they also have a countertop product, so I decided to try it. To be honest, it turned into a disaster. For one of the reasons is because when you do this process, you can't use your countertops. So I thought I was gonna be without countertops for maybe a week. I was without countertops for 3 weeks, which is definitely not ideal if you like to eat or you like to cook. And I have some videos to it. I'll link to it in the description so you can see the whole process. But basically, you degloss the countertops, and then you have to do these different layers of paint, and there's these different techniques. And I think I probably messed up the technique, although maybe the instructions weren't super great, because it ended up not being smooth and it didn't kind of settle out and become smooth. It actually became extremely rough, which is not ideal because a countertop should be smooth, not rough. And so I ended up having to sand the whole countertop down and try to do it over. And I had to do that several times. And so it just became this ordeal of a project. Like, I really thought I was gonna have to just replace the countertops. They ended up turning out okay. I feel like it's pretty close to quartz. You can see some of the veining here. It doesn't look horrible, but it's hard to tell on the camera. But it does look, I'd say, like a cheap quartz or something, or maybe a laminate countertop, and it's not terrible. And I'd say the majority of people probably don't even notice, they just think it's quartz. Like, this section turned out pretty good in my opinion, and you can see all that veining there. The good thing about the project is it really wasn't very expensive. It was only around $300 for the paint kit. It was just 3 weeks of my life that I can never get back, and a lot of stress. And I had to buy like sandpaper and sand it out and do it all by hand. And it was pretty crazy. I definitely don't recommend painting your countertops as a beginner. So now the big question, did I stay under my budget of $2,000 to do this kitchen transformation? First, I wanted to ask if you want more of these money-saving hacks to help you save thousands on your kitchen remodel, check out that ebook. That's down in the description over in the Penny Modern shop. Now on to my grand total. So let's go over all my projects. So we had painting the kitchen cabinets, $200. New cabinet hardware, and that was $85. Then we had the Vasani vent hood, that was $279. We had our floating shelves and brackets, $350. And then we had our paint supplies, that's $50. Countertop paint, my nightmare project, that was $300. And then I have a microwave, that was $158. And then we have the Backsplash and the grout, that was $298. And then we have our coffee bar station, that was $376. And then the light sconces were $52. So my grand total, drum roll please, was $2,148. So no, I did not meet my goal of keeping it under $2,000. I also didn't include a lot of the decor, which again, a lot of it I already had, so I'm not counting that. But I think it's pretty darn good. Doing a complete transformation from a brown, beige, dated kitchen from 20 years ago to this, I think doing that for less than $2,200 is amazing, and it makes me feel really good that I was able to pull this off. I would love to know your thoughts. Do you think I did a good job? Do you think it's terrible? Let me know down in the comments below. Please be kind. We did work really hard on this. And again, this is a temporary fix that we're gonna fully do a kitchen renovation here in the future, and make sure you subscribe so you don't miss all the design process and everything that I'm gonna do, because I'm gonna take you guys along with me when we do our full kitchen renovation. So hit that subscribe button. And then if you want even more kitchen design inspiration and tips, make sure you watch that next video right here, and I'll see you in the next video.